What's up, everybody? Welcome on into the slate. We are coming in hot. We've got MLB hot stove. There's a ton going on in the NFL in terms of injuries. Guys, I just had 2 shots, one for COVID, one for the flu. I'm ready to go. Adam,
Amen. Other shots.
Yeah, good for you. Gary and Thorne, Matt Lamarca, I am Adam Kaufman. We got Eamon, we got Daniel here with us behind the scenes, making sure we don't get too out of line. And guys, of course, for anyone that is sitting here watching us and following along on Twitter at the same time, you see the news. It's a little inconsistent depending on the reports that you would choose to believe. But Aaron Judge, and this started the speculation earlier this afternoon, appears, this is from one report out at the winter meetings, appears ticketed for the San Francisco Giants. Now, John Heyman, who is, of course, a newsbreaker in the baseball world and his 800,000 plus followers on Twitter, was the first to put out there the Judge appears to be headed to the Giants. And then he very quickly tweeted that the Giants say they have not heard from Judge. One report, Susan Susler, I believe you said her name was, Gary, and said that a decision, the buzz in the lobby, Judge to the Giants decision was made in the last 30 minutes or so. We'll see. It's not official. Nevertheless, let's talk about it because big money is heading his way, whether he stays in New York, goes to San Fran, goes to somewhere else. What do we think of this move, provided, in fact, he is going west?
I mean, it's not unexpected. It seems like this has been a 2-horse race for the past 2 weeks. It was going to be the Giants or it was going to be the Yankees. I always felt like he was probably going to head back to the Yankees. I mean, how can you say no to being named Yankees team captain? What an honor. What an absolute privilege.
360 million reasons why.
He just wants
361 because maybe he wanted to like grow a beard because he's a grown man. Yeah, look, the weird thing about this trade, it means more for the Yankees, not trade, excuse me, the signing, if it is in fact happening, it means more for the Yankees than does the Giants. I think the Giants stink. I think even if you plop Judge in the middle of that lineup, it's a bad lineup. He's great, don't get me wrong, but this is sort of creating that, like, those Angels teams like pre-Shohei when it was just Mike Trout and a bunch of nothing. And even the ones with Shohei, it hasn't had much more success than that. But yeah, I don't think the Giants are contenders this season at all. And obviously this would really hurt the Yankees stock, although they would now have a bunch of money to spend on other free agents. But yeah, look, I'm not going to say it's shocking. And I'm also not going to say it's done because I don't trust John Heyman. But yeah, $360 million. Hot damn.
To your point, looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook right now, and I suspect there'll be movement in some form or another when a decision is made, however drastic, you guys tell me. But at the moment, the Giants, they're plus 2,500 to win the World Series, which, of course, is, it's what, top 10, 12. It's nowhere near the front. The Yankees, even presumably without Aaron Judge, are plus 1,000 right now, which is actually tied for 4th with Toronto, with Atlanta as well. The Astros, of course, are sitting in front, still needing a new GM, I believe, right? Or at least got rid of their World Series winning GM. Nevertheless, coming off a championship, they are the favorites to repeat. You got the Dodgers, the Mets right there in the conversation as well. We can talk about the Mets with Lamarca in a little bit. But Maddie, first, what do you think of this Aaron Judge potential turmoil for the Yankees and what there is to gain here for San Fran, and what kind of season he would be looking at, a totally different ballpark?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'm not writing off the Giants the same way Garion is. I mean, this team won, 107 games 2 years ago, 108 games. And they were 500 last year in arguably the toughest division in baseball. So you add in Aaron Judge, who was a legitimate 10 WAR player last year. Like, this team's clearly going to be in the playoff conversation. And I don't think that they're done yet, right? The big rumor was that part of their pitch to Judge is we're going to bring in multiple big name free agents. So I would say expect them to be maybe in the Carlos Correa mix. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily done spending, kind of like, similar to what the Rangers did last year when they brought in Seager and Simeon together. So,
or this year.
Or this year. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think I think it's clearly a good move for the Giants. They were missing sort of that middle of the lineup masher, and Judge certainly fits that description. As for the Yankees, I think that I'm surprised at how unsurprised I am. right? Like this has kind of become the defining characteristic of this Yankees regime, is that they are not going to overpay players. And maybe they have matched the Giants contract. We don't really know for sure, but they're not willing to go above and beyond in order to get, to get whatever they may need at the time. And they're going to rely on their farm system. They're going to rely on, their ability to sort of find these hidden gems and get value out of them the same way they've done, with a Luke Voigt or a DJ LeMahieu, guys that they're getting for bargains that they can then turn into really good players. So I'm not writing off the Yankees, but certainly it's hard to see them being as good as they were last year if they lose Aaron Judge.
I do wonder too, and this is just kind of the psychology of it, and I guess I present this with sort of under the guise that the Yankees come anywhere close in terms of an offer to San Fran, because obviously if it's $360 million versus, I don't know, $300 million, and Judge is already kind of on the fence, it's a pretty easy decision. But if he chose San Francisco over New York and the money is close or even potentially the same, it makes you wonder the stresses of last year's home run chase and all of that and all the media coverage and all of it. Like, some guys are built to relish that stuff. It never really felt like Aaron Judge was that guy. And he didn't, turtle, like he hit the milestone. He did it. He hit the home run. But I guess I just wonder, like, California guy, he's 30, he's had the New York experience for a long time. They haven't won in terms of winning a championship, but I don't know. I guess I just wonder if he is ready for a change more than anything else. Like, if this isn't totally about the money, if it's just, like, I've done it. Now I'm ready to get out of the media craze market.
I mean, I think he was fine.
Money is important to everybody, right, Kaufman? And we won't know until we hear what the Yankees' actual offer was. And believe me, I'm sure the Yankees are going to tell us what their offer was. Yeah. But I think if you look at him and then you look at a guy like Jacob deGrom, I do think that maybe there is something to the fact that, getting out of New York is appealing if, you a little bit less media scrutiny. But certainly I think the narrative of like, oh, this guy wants to come to the media capital of the world, big time. You can get endorsement money and like all that stuff is way overblown. It's the same reason why no free agents ever go to the Knicks, right? Like the appeal of playing in a big city, I don't think matters in sports in 2022.
And I would say that's especially true for baseball. I mean, I guess the Yankees and the Dodgers are the only two teams that sort of supersede their surroundings, but at this point, I mean, there's sort of contrasting data as to the popularity of baseball and who's watching baseball, and, ratings are up, but everyone thinks baseball's dying and it's the demographics are getting older, et cetera, et cetera. It's a regionalized game. I mean, again, unless you play for the Yankees. So I guess in this very, very, very small circumstance, it matters, but you're not going to be a celebrity. You're not going to be talked about on First Take if you're a baseball player. That's just not what's happening right now. So you're going to be as big a star in San Francisco as you would be a star, honestly, in like Cleveland, because you're at this point where you're a star within your own market, and that's really about it. So I think Judge, I don't think he ever handled like the media scrutiny poorly or anything. I mean, he wasn't the most outspoken person in the world, right? But like, I think he's handling it better than like Garrett Cole. So yeah, look, I think if he just wanted to go back to California, that's about the oldest sports narrative of the last 15 years is guys from California tend to want to go back to California if given the opportunity. So I wouldn't necessarily blame him, but
if you got
like
money,
Matt said,
why wouldn't you go to California? Right.
Exactly. But again, I think really, if we're just being honest with ourselves, it's probably going to come out that like he got an extra year or an extra $30-40 million from the Giants. And I think it's just that simple.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I don't think he handled anything poorly in New York in terms of the media coverage or the pressure or any of that. I just wonder how much it wore on him personally and internally.
If I'm a Yankees fan, I specifically blame him having to be followed around by that nerd Roger Maris Jr. for 3 weeks.
Well, Maris is still tweeting that he deserves to be the home run champ, though, or at least the AL home run champ.
Oh God.
At the very least, get rid of Bonds, get rid of McGuire, get rid of Sosa. It's Judge. Judge is the rightful guy. I think he had a tweet as recently as like yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, he did.
Maris is still on it. Lamarca, before we get away from baseball, and by all means, Eamon, Daniel, and you guys, for anyone who's keeping a close eye on Twitter, if we get some actual factual breaking news with confirmation on this Aaron Judge thing before we get out of here, shout it out and we can.
I would just say to that point, we don't have anything definitive, but Susan Sulser from the San Francisco Chronicle, who we mentioned earlier, just tweeted out rumbling among Giants players and other personnel that Judge is coming aboard. So she seems to be picking up on this, and she's a highly respected member of the baseball media, more so than John Heyman. Let's just say that. Not a high bar to clear, but she has cleared it.
Before we get away from baseball, though, Lamarca, and forgive me if you already have, different people are on these shows every single day. Have you had an opportunity for the viewers to react to, obviously, you mentioned it before, DeGrom going to Texas, getting the big payday there, Verlander winding up with the Mets, and sort of how all of this is unfolded?
I don't think I have on this show. I certainly not the Verlander part. Listen, I'm sad. One thing that I have realized is that one of the the silver cloud of the Mets being, or the silver lining of the Mets being so bad for most of my lifetime, is I have never really had to say goodbye to a player that I loved, right? For the most part, the Mets haven't had any of those.
Yeah.
So Jacob deGrom is my all-time favorite player. It's going to be very bizarre to see him pitching somewhere else. And I still think that when he's healthy, he's the best pitcher in baseball. Now, those days are becoming fewer and farther between at this point, and he certainly didn't look as dominant pitching down the stretch last year. So the fact that the Mets have pivoted from him to Justin Verlander, who is somehow older but also feels more durable, like I'm not super upset with that. I think that if DeGrom does continue this downward trajectory, that deal for the Rangers has the potential to get pretty ugly. And with the Verlander contract, at least it's only for 2 years with a third-year option. So as much as it saddens me that Jacob deGrom is no longer a Met, I don't think it's really had a huge impact on sort of the future trajectory of the franchise.
Any surprise, Gary, in that the Astros let Verlander go in the first place?
I mean, it sort of seemed like from the reports that we were getting that there was mutual interest to bring him back, or the Astros would love it if he came back, but that maybe he had sort of just set out to accomplish what he'd accomplished there and wanted to move on to something else. I mean, it was interesting how little buzz the last couple of weeks there had been that Verlander would actually be returning to the Astros. And maybe that sort of went out the window as soon as they let go of Click. Like, I'm not quite sure what Verlander's relationship was with James Click. It might've been fantastic. It might've been the reason he was there to begin with. So I almost think in a way, Verlander might be sort of embracing this sort of like hired gun sort of stage of his career where he just gets to come in and join World Series contenders and maybe be that final piece that pushes them across the line. Sort of the way that we thought LeBron's career would maybe end up before he sort of just settled in Los Angeles because the school system's really good, I guess.
California, baby.
Well, he's going to move on again. He's going to go wherever Bronny goes in a couple of years.
Sure. But like, I think Verlander could legitimately, like, I have no idea how long Verlander's going to be able to pitch. He is a marvel of nature and science. So who knows? Maybe every couple of years, Verlander's somewhere new trying to win a World Series. But
I do think
not shocked. It just seemed like there was not a lot of smoke that he was going back to Houston.
I think that the idea of him teaming up with Max again too, probably had a little bit of appeal for him. Those guys kind of came up through that, with the Tigers at the same time. So, and then now they have the same exact contract. So it's kind of interesting that both guys have basically the same deal with the Mets, and they're making just boatloads of money. Basically, if you're not Cristiano Ronaldo right now, you're envying the money that Justin Verlander just got at 40 years old.
Let's transition to NFL, and if any other stuff comes out of the baseball winter meetings, obviously we will react to it in the less than 20 minutes that we have with you until the next sim comes along. Here are the DraftKings channels. Make sure you tune in for those. Next one, 6 o'clock Eastern. But football, guys, a flurry of news today, obviously of varying importance to the respective teams, but maybe the most immediate anyway, in the sense that to kick off the next week, week 14 in the NFL, we will have the Rams playing host to the Raiders, and possibly a brand new quarterback on, not just on the sidelines, but actually out there starting for Los Angeles. And that is Baker Mayfield, who was claimed off waivers by LA. Many people speculated, could he go there with Matt Stafford down? Could he go to San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo out now? And more on Garoppolo in a moment. But the Niners, according to a report, didn't even put in a claim on Baker, who was really, really bad, obviously. Really, really bad in his half dozen starts with the Panthers this year. Lost his job kind of multiple times in that trio of quarterback options they had there with Carolina. It's basically Baker or Wolford or Perkins, anyway, one of these three guys that is going to start in this next game on Thursday. They have rushed him the playbook so he could study on the flight out west. What do we think here, LaMarca, of what we've seen from Baker so far, stepping into a brand new situation on a couple days' notice, if in fact he does start on Thursday?
So first of all, I would be shocked if he played on Thursday. I mean, talk about just setting a guy up for immediate failure. Playing him on Thursday. Now, granted, the Raiders stink on defense, so maybe that would offset things. But I don't care how smart you are, you can't learn a playbook in a day. So I'm gonna expect John Wolford to be under center in that contest. And honestly, in general, I'm kind of done talking about Baker Mayfield. The guy stinks. He was a former number one pick, so I get it, right? Like, he's going to get some headlines, but I don't expect him to be much better in Los Angeles than he was in Carolina, with no Cooper Kupp, with no Allen Robinson. I expect him to go somewhere else in the offseason, maybe even the XFL. If he can't accept the job as being a backup, he's not going to be in the National Football League anymore.
1-5 this year, career low, 57.8 completion percentage, 6 touchdown passes to 6 interceptions in his 6 games. Garion, what do we think?
Future CFL MVP, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, look, I don't knock the Rams for doing this. I mean, it's sort of, we've seen this happen time and time again with disgraced top 10 quarterbacks, where they get a couple more chances than your average NFL quarterback. And honestly, we tend to recycle the same backup quarterbacks anyway for years and years and years. So I guess Baker could just keep making the rounds if he really wants to. But, if you're the Rams, you have an opening. Stafford's probably not going to play again this season. I think you can pretty confidently say that John Wolford and Bryce Perkins are not the future of the quarterback position for the Los Angeles Rams franchise. So yeah, he's not going to play this week. That would be hilarious. I mean, remember when McCaffrey got traded to the 49ers and they, again, expedited in the playbook so he could read it on the plane? And it was like, if any position can do this, it's running back. But it's like the only position that could possibly play like a set handful of plays. There is no way a quarterback can learn an entirely new offense in 2 days. There's no way he's playing. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's going to be good. I don't think anything will change, but why not? It's, sometimes we've seen teams trade like late round draft picks to bring in some of these like quarterback reclamation projects. The Rams didn't even have to do that. It's going to cost them $1.3 million. Sean McVay will get to like have him in the room and see what he's all about. And maybe he can find something that he likes. I don't think he will, but yeah, this is low risk, probably low reward. And as much as I would love to see him spice up a terrible Thursday night game by just having the most hilarious quarterback performance of all time, it's not going to happen. It just won't happen.
Rams on the hook for that last million and a half that he is earning this season. So, all right, he doesn't go to San Francisco, and maybe that's a good thing for the Niners. Let's talk about them, because they go from a really handsome quarterback to a Purdy one, guys. You got Brock Purdy.
Oh my God.
You like that, Lamarck? I was saving that one for you. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Actually, I'm kind of proud of it. So Brock Purdy is going to be this team's quarterback for the foreseeable future. For right now, how does this play out? Are they going to add another guy who is not named Baker Mayfield, or are they going to stick with this and see how far it takes them into the postseason? Because Adam Schefter had a report just a little while ago that Garoppolo has not been ruled out to return later to return in the playoffs. 8 weeks, 9 weeks or 7, 8 weeks, pardon me, was the report. And that would put him, the divisional playoff weekend is 7 weeks from the day of Garoppolo's injury, and the conference championship game is 8 weeks away. So obviously the Niners still need to get to the playoffs and win. They need to do something in order to see Jimmy G again at some point this season. But where does this go from here?
Well, they did bring somebody in. They brought in Josh Johnson, aka the man Baker Mayfield should aspire to be one day. And but no, I think they're gonna stick with Purdy. I mean, he played pretty well against GT's Dolphins, I thought. You know, he moved the ball, and I mean, it's the most perfect system ever to step into as a backup quarterback. I mean, you've got talent all around you. You've got a pretty good offensive line. It's not like Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm a staunch Jimmy G defender, by the way. Like, I hate the term game manager. I think it's condescending to guys who aren't flashy, like Alex Smith. And before he got hurt, you can call him a game manager. You know what that guy did? He won.
Yeah.
Everywhere he went, that guy won football games. And Jimmy G has kind of been the same way.
Regular season, for sure.
But that said, from a statistical standpoint, it's not going to be hard for Purdy to replicate what Jimmy G was giving this team. You get the ball to McCaffrey, you get the ball to Debo and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, and you let those guys do most of the work. So it's a downgrade for sure. Don't get me wrong, but I was very high on the 49ers. I still think they're going to be in the playoffs. And it would not shock me if they could win a playoff game with Purdy at quarterback.
I forget the degree to which Josh Johnson is a true journeyman.
This will be his fourth stint Washington, with San Francisco.
Jets, Baltimore.
I think it's 16 teams.
Yeah, he's NFL Edwin Jackson.
Just a ton of practice squads for sure. Well, what do you think, Arian? Or, because draft, I don't know. I guess it surprises me a little bit. Maybe this is me elevating the importance of Jimmy Garoppolo, but San Francisco is still plus 1,200, which is tied for fifth best odds to win the Super Bowl, even without Garoppolo.
Well, I mean, again, this is sort of a game I've been playing in my own head for the entirety of the season, but name the best quarterback in the NFC.
Jalen Hurts.
Probably. Yeah. So again, this isn't going to be the AFC playoffs where hypothetically you could go from like, oh man, I have to face Lamar Jackson round 1 and then have to face Josh Allen in round 2 and then have to face Patrick Mahomes in round 3. Like the Niners are arguably one of the best schemed teams in the NFL. I think, like Matt said, if there's a perfect system you could drop a quarterback into and just hope that he is elevated by his surroundings, it would be San Francisco. I mean, we saw this to some degree with Nick Mullins a couple years back. Like they can coach up these quarterbacks. It's the whole conversation, ironically, that people were having with the quarterback opposing from him on Sunday with Tua Tagovailoa in this similar type of offense. I'll be curious to see how Tampa Bay sort of goes about defending the 49ers offense this weekend. I think the Dolphins, as they're wont to do, sent a lot of zero blitz pressure, hoping that they could maybe fluster Purdy. And he did really well getting the ball out quick, finding open receivers. But obviously the downside of sending blitzes as often as the Dolphins did in those scenarios was you do make the reads really simple. I mean, it's a lot of just man coverage, find the open guy, get it out there. Like I'm curious to see how Tampa sort of tries to throw a wrench in this, but yeah, I think he'll be fine. The obvious concern is they're just not going to get that 1 seed, no matter how well he plays. The Eagles have that pretty much on lock. And if they don't, the Vikings probably do. So you're definitely going to have to play a playoff game, even under the most optimistic timelines for Jimmy G, with Purdy as your quarterback. And for as good as that defense is, for as great as the surrounding cast is, what if it is Tom Brady versus Purdy in round 1 of the playoffs? For as underwhelming as Tampa has been so far this season, for as underwhelming as Brady has been so far this season, I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time betting Purdy in that particular matchup.
They wouldn't get strong enough
defense on the other side, though.
Because Tampa's going to win their division. That's true. So Yeah.
So more than likely you're getting a matchup against Dak Prescott, which would be bad.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, which would be fine, and Geno Smith. So I think they're going to be okay. I do.
Well, again, like I said, it goes back to this, just like there's not a lot of scary quarterbacks in the NFC right now. So if you're just part of the best team, that's a pretty good place to be.
Very quickly, because we only have a few minutes left and I want to hit a couple more things. Lamar Jackson, week to week, 1 to 3 weeks is what he's expected to miss right now with the sprained PCL. Garion, what's this do for the Ravens and obviously Lamar in terms of the unclear absence?
I mean, that win they got last week was massive because the AFC is incredibly top heavy, and the Patriots losing and the Chargers losing kind of let a couple teams relax just a little bit. And who knows, maybe the Cardinals and the Dolphins take care of business again this next weekend and really sort of crystallize what the AFC playoff picture, what the 7 teams are going to be anyway. I know the Jets are huge underdogs this week against Buffalo too, but their schedule gets easy after that. But if Lamar is going to miss 2 or 3 games, there's not a lot of wiggle room in the AFC playoff picture. So I think that we saw Huntley be, fine in stints last season. He didn't look overly great against the Broncos, but the Broncos have been a fantastic defense the entirety of the year. And I think that, given a week of prep, he's probably going to look better this week. But the concern would just be if Lamar is able to get back in 2 weeks, is he Lamar still? Like, a knee injury for a quarterback who relies so much on his mobility, particularly with no healthy weapons on the outside anymore. Like, they needed Lamar to be Lamar, and this offense was already pretty bad the last month or so. So it's just not great news. I mean, I know I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but like, that was the worst possible thing that could happen to the Ravens.
Lamarca, Odell Beckham Jr. met with the Cowboys, and apparently they didn't love the physical.
Another one I'm tired of talking about.
It reportedly has not progressed enough to ensure that he would play before mid-January, and so the possibility is that people are looking at 2023 for him. Are you at all surprised by this? Did you think he was going to sign someone
that it was talked about?
Impactful?
He was impactful last year, so I didn't see why he couldn't come in and help somebody. I do think that, the way he was kind of picking his team, it seemed like he was just going to go try and chase a ring. So I think his impact would have been kind of minimal, right? Like, the Cowboys don't need him, right? A team like the Giants needs him, but I don't think he's going to the Giants. So at this point, again, I'm not talking about Odell until he's back on a football field.
Do we miss anything from the winter meetings? Anything break in the last half hour?
I haven't really seen anything.
Can you buy
new.
an Aaron Judge Giants jersey yet?
We got a Rockies trade. That's always exciting. Michael K is saying the Yankees are still in play. I mean, it really just looks like Heyman jumped the gun here, which is not shocking to anyone.
Hold on.
Got to pay off that.
I'm getting something. Right? Hold on. I'm getting some breaking news. What's that? Oh, Matt LaMarca 4-1 again on his picks last week.
That's good. What's the overall record? Like
47-18.
So you were 7th last week. Where are you now?
So the bad news is that I didn't listen to my own advice, and I only went 3-2 on my own individual entry. So I fell back a little bit. Still winning $200 and some odd in a free contest. I'll take that, every day of the week.
Nope, can't beat that. You're doing well. Tail this guy's picks. We tell you all the time. He'll give out some picks later on this week, usually on Fridays. So make sure you tune in for that show. He'll be with Moose, Jeff Ulrich, and we got a full slate of slates, full slate of shows over the course of this week. And of course, the sweat in the mornings as well. That comes your way 11 a.m. Eastern time to noon, Monday through Friday. This show is after the 4:00 Madden Sim, so right around 5:15 Eastern time each and every day. And it's just a whole lot of NFL and mixing some NBA, maybe some NHL when Moose is around, and baseball winter meeting talk. Aaron Judge, it seems like, is a future San Francisco Giant. Thanks to Eamon. Thanks to Daniel. We'll see. I know. We'll see. Garion, LaMarca, Kaufman. See you later.